go ahead and mute your microphones at this point in time. I am Caleb Kid Coylin. It's so nice to meet you. And everyone joining us here live on Facebook, we welcome you. December 28th, we're honing in on the end of 2022, and what an interesting year it has been. And I'm just so excited, along with my co-hosts, Deb and Anita, for you guys to join us today and just talk about the different ways that we can empower our lives, our health, our mindset, and ultimately one another as we continue to rise and level up in taking action. I don't know how many of you want 2023 to be a year of taking action. I think when we look at everything happening in the world around us, there is a lot of opportunity for us to give into fear, to give into discouragement, to give into hopelessness. And when we start to feel those negative emotions, it can tend to paralyze us and cause us to sit still maybe and hope things blow over, or not take the steps toward doing what we know needs to be done in our personal lives, in our family lives. And for me personally, and I know that Deb and Anita share this, it's all about building a powerful legacy. And whether we like it or not, each and every day, our actions dictate the kind of future legacy that we are leaving behind to our family, to our children, to our grandchildren. And I don't know about you guys, but I want to be remembered in a positive light. I don't want to be gone and God forbid something happens prematurely. But if I'm able, by the grace of God and the universe, to live a long, healthy life, I don't want to be remembered as somebody who procrastinated and waited to get things done that I knew needed to be done ahead of times. Because ultimately, that's what we're here for. We're here to help equip you. We're here to help prepare you and ultimately give you a vision moving forward into 2023 and your future, that you feel inside that you have been empowered, that hey, listen, I've got the right knowledge and information to move forward with confidence, in faith, regardless of what's happening in the world around me. And guys, we live in such volatile times, economically, medically, physically, and we're going to have to get stronger moving forward. So that's why you're here. This is like a massive power up session, right? We want you to leave this webinar and this Zoom equipped and empowered and feeling confident that you are ready to take on anything that comes your way. So again, thank you so much for being here today and joining us. I'd like to introduce a couple of incredible ladies. Dr. Debra Muth has been a friend of mine for a number of years now. And Deb's a leading edge provider using natural supplements and bioidentical hormones to heal the body. Integrating these diverse therapies with allopathic Western medicine has enabled her to offer a highly refined approach that produces lasting results. And she's got credentials as a Naturopathic Doctor ND, women's health nurse practitioner, board certified anti-aging specialist, and that list goes on and on and on. She graduated as a nurse in 95 and completed her degree as a practitioner in 98. And that list of credentials goes on and on and on. Thank you, Deb, for being here with us today. We so appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Caleb. It's an honor to be here with you. And I'm excited to talk to people and share how we can make 2023 an amazing year. I so agree with you. 2022 has been a roller coaster for many of us in lots of different lights. And I'm excited to see what 2023 brings for us and the opportunity that we have to truly share and change the world that we see, how we see it, what it's like for us from both an aspect of health and well-being, but also from an aspect of nature and all of those wonderful things that the world has to offer to us that I think we've unfortunately forgotten about. We've been so busy doing our thing, building our lives, creating whatever it is we're creating, but we've forgotten about the spiritual and mystical side of the world that we have, and just all of our nature that we have, and how we need to nurture our own nature and our own living arrangements and the world that we live in, to take good care of what we've been so blessed to have. And so I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I love that, Deb. Resonates so much with me as well. Thank you for sharing that. And we have the lovely Anita Stewart with us as well, who I was recently introduced through Dr. Debra. And Anita's a certified RN. She's been gifted to work in healing her entire life. Basically, tending to those injured was first experienced through her compassionate, gentle care of animals as a child. And she went on to earn her nursing degree with high-level hospital nursing as her career for 40 years. So her own debilitating injury initiated a series of events for her that naturally led her to expand her ability to help others physically, emotionally, and spiritually, not just through her own knowledge and power, but through surrender to a power greater than her own. And I love that, Anita. Anita, welcome. Thanks for being here with us today.
Oh, it's really exciting to be here, Caleb. And, especially with such an amazing woman such as Debra Muth and an amazing podcaster as yourself. I have to tell you, 2022 was great for me, only because I started my own organic gardening. And I have to tell you, that's changed the way I look at food because my body responded to it so amazingly different from growing my own, making my own compost, tending it, loving it. And I have to tell you, I had the most fun I've had in a long time. But I'm excited to be here because I know 2023 is going to be major changes for so many people on so many different levels. And as people begin to awaken to their true nature and to what is possible and the power that lies within you and the power you have to create a life that is complete, whole, at peace, and joyous, I'm excited. I really am.
Wow.
It's going to happen for so many this year.
I love that, Anita. 2023, the year of limitless possibilities. I'm going in with that mindset. I don't know about you guys, but I'm absolutely convinced and have witnessed it in my life that if we can believe that anything and all things are possible, and that's the kind of community that we want to surround ourselves with, right, ladies? That's the kind of community that we're building in this new year. So we would love to talk to you about health in general, but specifically some products and supplements that can really empower you in ways that, maybe other things haven't because of the science behind it. Okay. Again, diet fads, fat burning fads, they come and they go, don't they? There's a multi-billion-dollar industry around these products. And especially when people get, I don't know if desperate is the right word, but it may be desperate enough into their situation or their health deteriorates to such a place, they're willing to try anything and everything and spend ridiculous amounts of money, maybe utilizing a product or a diet or some type of service that isn't the most beneficial to who they are and isn't really healing them from the inside out. So when I first started talking to Deb and Anita about this particular product, again, I tend to be a bit of a skeptic at first, but I know that Deb was recently brought on board because of Anita for this product with the board, essentially the medical board of directors, which I thought was very, very powerful. And I know Deb well enough over the years to know that when she advocates or believes in something, that I can probably do the same as well. And so let's talk a little bit about why our bodies have gotten so mucked up over the years, for lack of a better term. What has happened to us through, we understand there's the aging process, but we're constantly fed a diet of artificial and genetically modified foods. And essentially what this is creating within us is an inability for our bodies to process, digest, and metabolize the fat and the weight that we begin taking on. So Deb, would you talk to us a bit about what leads somebody to that point and why it can be so difficult to reverse that process?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole food industry has changed 380%, if not more. This all really started back in the 70s when we started allowing artificial sweeteners. We started allowing chemicals into our food. You know, it was probably 1965-ish when we started with the old-fashioned TV dinners. Some of us are old enough to remember that. And that was really the first craze that we got into with unhealthy or processed foods. And over the years, we have created so many processed foods that I think there's a generation of people that really don't understand the difference between a processed food and a whole food. Like Anita was talking about growing your own food organically. That is considered a luxury these days, when back in the early 60s and the 50s, that was a very commonplace. And part of this came out of the industrialization of food and saying we need to feed more people. How can we feed more people for less amount of money and make them full? But in doing that, we created a lot of metabolic problems within our body. So we had the whole low fat craze that started in the late 80s, early 90s, where fat was bad. And they took all the fat out of food, which is a problem because our brain is primarily fat. We need healthy fats. We added to that a lot of sugar, a lot of refined sugar, a lot of artificial sweeteners, because if we take the fat out of food, food doesn't taste well. And the only way the manufacturers could get us to buy it is if they added all these ingredients to it. That would be why you can buy a McDonald's hamburger and leave it on your counter for 15 years and it doesn't look any different than it did the day you bought it. Whether it had cheese on it or not, the cheese still looks the same, the burger's the same, the bread's the same, everything. And it's because of all this artificial contaminants in our food. Same thing with a Twinkie. You can buy a Twinkie and not unwrap it, and you could still eat it 20 years later. And it's because it's not real food. And unfortunately, we've had multiple generations now being raised on these things that we call food that really isn't food. And in doing that, we've disrupted our metabolism. We've disrupted our mitochondria, which is our cell structure. And we've created an insulin resistance problem. We've created a leptin issue. We've created a problem with our hypothalamus and pituitary. And I always call those are the divas in our brain. They control everything from a hormone aspect. But when they get disrupted, they disrupt the insulin, the blood sugar, the leptin, and all of your hormones. And so we have generations of people, unfortunately, who've been poisoned by the food that we've grown in the US. And we were talking earlier before we hopped on about someone who lives in Italy. And it's very true. In Italy and in Europe, they don't allow a lot of the chemicals that we allow here in our food. So it's different. If people can't eat a particular food here, like I have patients that can't eat tomatoes here, but they can go to Europe and they can eat tomatoes, or they can't eat bread here, but they can eat it in Italy because it's different. It's not processed the same way, and their bodies know what to do with it. And so that's really how we've gotten to this problem.
Wow, such an extraordinary amount of self-poisoning that I think people don't realize, right, unintentionally is happening within their body, and thus the auto-intoxication. Anita, did you want to add anything to that before we continue?
You know, I really do want to get this story on this recording because I have friends that couldn't make it today. So I was sharing earlier before we were recording that one of our team members, Brian Mira, lives in the mountains of Italy, and he also has a home here in the United States. So he hasn't been back to the United States. He's been using our product since it came out. He was one of the beta testers, and he had some amazing results with it. He hasn't been back to the United States for over a year, and he came to visit for the holidays. And what happened to him is he gained 8 pounds. And he said, I haven't been eating crazy. I've been watching what I'm eating. But he said, I gained 8 pounds. And he said, not only were the prices of food outrageous, which completely shocked him in 1 year of being away, that but that the way the food is processed and how we grow our food, especially our soils, are completely deplete of the minerals and the enzymes that we need to break down our food and the food that feeds us to get that in. So he also shared that he had three of his teenage boy brought two of his friends to come and visit over a year ago when he was here before, and they gained 20 pounds. Now, they didn't eat any different. It's just what they ate. It's what they ate and how it's grown. And I can't emphasize that enough. I mean, the thing that really changed me about eating organic was how my body felt when I ate homegrown food. It was like my cells woke up, and all of a sudden I felt alive. It was like the mitochondria were turned on, right, Deb?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just so amazing. So I highly recommend, and as much as it's expensive, the organic is the way to go. And I'm absolutely committed to doing that from now on.
Wow, wonderful story and analogy, Anita, and a perfect example, right, of this American diet in general and the repercussions. I mean, I don't think all of us, right, intend to go out and eat McDonald's every day, but we live in this fast food, give it to me my way, I need it right now society. And because of that, we tend to maybe compromise our own eating habits and, intake food that isn't benefiting us in any way, shape, or form. And what I like to talk about, ladies, a bit is the healing that needs to happen within our bodies on a cellular level. Deb, you mentioned the mitochondria, and most of us are familiar maybe with the term insulin or insulin issues, but we're probably not that familiar with leptin. So talk to us about what leptin is, how that gets out of whack, and what we can do to begin healing those leptin levels naturally.
Absolutely. So leptin is very similar to insulin. So when you hear people talk about them, you'll hear oftentimes they'll talk about them together. And I'll share a story that I heard that was such a great identification of what leptin does and how impactful it is. And it came from a pediatric doctor who used to work at St. Jude. And at St. Jude, he had the luxury of taking care of kids with brain tumors. And these were kids that had part of their tumors removed from their brains. And then afterwards, he was their primary care physician. What they found was after they removed the brain tumors and these kids were cancer-free, all of a sudden they had no energy and they started gaining weight really rapidly. Like it was not uncommon to see these children 300, 350 pounds, no energy, sitting on the couch. And their parents would say, "You saved my child, but he's not my child anymore. He's not the child that I had before the cancer. He has no energy. He doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't have a desire to do anything except sit on the couch and eat." And so this physician started going to the literature to see what was causing these issues. And they certainly found insulin issues. Obviously, they were morbidly obese, and that causes insulin to rise. But it was in the early 90s when they started learning about leptin. And what they found was when they manipulated this part of their brain that affected the hypothalamus, it caused their leptin levels to be a problem. So leptin is a hormone, and it is our satiety hormone. That's the best way to describe it. When your leptin level is in check, you eat a normal size meal, you feel full, you feel satisfied. When leptin is out of balance, you never turn that off. You're always hungry. You're always looking for food. You're not satisfied regardless of how much or what you eat. But then they've also discovered since the 90s this thing called leptin resistance. And if you've ever heard of insulin resistance, it's very much similar. You have this hormone circulating in the body, but all of these little fingers and all of these little receptors everywhere are not recognizing the leptin. So the body keeps pumping out more leptin to try to get these receptors to pick it up and utilize it, but it's inefficient at it. So for a while in medicine, we used to think the higher the leptin level, the better off you were, the skinnier you would be, until we realized it's the wrong approach. Your body's making all this leptin because it's trying to get the leptin receptors to register the hormone. And so it keeps pumping out more. So more is not always better. It's kind of like thyroid. So when leptin becomes imbalanced and the receptors are not seeing leptin and leptin's high, what ends up happening is the body feels like it's in starvation mode. So regardless of if you eat 500 calories or 5,000 calories, your body's laying down all this fat because it's trying to protect it. It thinks it's never going to be fed again. And in doing that, that's how we end up with so much body fat. And then the cycle just continues and continues and continues. And it's a vicious cycle. And we see this happen partially because of our diets, partially because of the stress in the world that's affecting our hypothalamus and pituitary and all the chemicals we're exposed to, the Roundups, the Febreze plugins. I mean, all of these chemicals we clean with are disrupting our hypothalamus and pituitary, which are throwing off these hormones. And so it's a bigger issue than we ever thought it was with just food. It's food, it's chemicals, it's toxins, it's bacteria and viruses. Anything that disrupts that hypothalamus can throw off the hormonal production of leptin and insulin. And then we have that vicious cycle of gaining that weight, having that body fat, and you can starve yourself all you want. If you don't fix the leptin, you will never lose the weight. And that's why people are in this vicious hamster wheel.
Incredible science behind that. Anita, did you want to add to that?
You know, I just wanted to talk about this, and Deb, correct me if I'm wrong, but insulin and leptin, you know, they go together, and the thing that insulin shunts sugar into the fat cells.
Correct.
So insulin makes fat. The more insulin, the more fat, period. Insulin drives weight gain. And the problem is it's a biochemical drive that sets you up to gain weight. Your body is making more insulin because of the industrial global diet. And that's a direct quote from Dr. Robert Lustig, who has an amazing little cartoon video that talks about the insulin and the leptin. And Deb, what about ghrelin? Was that something that is involved in this? I don't know myself, so I was asking you.
Yeah. Ghrelin is another hormone that's secreted in this whole endocrine fat cycle. So it's insulin, leptin, ghrelin, and they kind of follow this path. So typically people will start with an insulin resistance, and that can start very early on. And one of the first symptoms you're going to notice is some hypoglycemia. You're going to eat, and a couple hours later, you're going to feel shaky, you're going to feel dizzy, lightheaded, and you're going to look for something to feed the body and make that go away. The more we do that, the more insulin that's being produced. And typically when those incidents happen, we grab something that's sweet or sugary because it happens fast like that, and it pulls you out of it and you feel amazing. But the more we do that, the more the body keeps producing more and more insulin. And our blood sugars become more difficult to control. And the body's got to produce more insulin to keep the blood sugar under control. And then the leptin becomes out of balance. And then the ghrelin comes out of balance. And then it's the entire cycle that's mucked up. And we've got to go all the way back and fix the basics, which is your diet. We need to start there. But I would encourage people that are listening to ask their doctors for blood tests. Ask for a fasting insulin level, not a fasting glucose level. We want a fasting insulin level. We want to see how high is your insulin when you're fasting. That'll tell us how resistant you are. You can also ask for what's called a 2-hour postprandial insulin level. Any ladies that have had to have the glucose tolerance test when you were pregnant, you'll remember you drink that lovely sugary drink and 2 hours later they draw your blood. You can do it that way. We prefer to tell people, go out and have a really wonderful breakfast. Go have pancakes and syrup and orange juice. If you're going to have all this sugar, it might as well enjoy it, right? So go eat that. Come back 2 hours later, we'll draw your blood again, and we want to see what happens to your insulin level. And that will tell us, are you insulin resistant? And I get patients who will say, but I never eat that kind of food. Right, you may not eat pancakes and syrup, but I guarantee you you're eating sugar from someplace. And it doesn't matter that you never eat that. We want to challenge the body to see what happens when you have sugar. And there's white refined sugar everywhere. And it's very addictive. They say it's more addicting than heroin itself. It's harder to get off of. I would encourage everyone to start looking at labels. You'll see it. It will have different names. They won't say sugar all the time. It'll say fructose corn syrup. It'll say xylitol or erythritol. Those are sugar alcohols. They are not supposed to affect your insulin as much as white refined sugars, but they can. Maple syrup is a good one. Honey is another one that's going to raise your sugar. So even if you're eating healthy and you're eating those sweeteners, you're still causing an insulin response in the body.
And the other thing that I always ask people is, do you drink coffee? Oh yeah, because they tell me, oh, I'm not taking any sugar, no carbs. I said, are you putting creamer in your coffee?
Yeah.
How many people go? I mean, look at Starbucks and all the coffee shops. We have a million of them here in Den. I have never seen lines as long. I mean, not even at Hobby Lobby the day after Christmas. I mean, the lines there are ridiculous, and they're getting lattes. And, you know, I had a conversation with my brother, who is a smart man. He's an attorney. His wife is a nurse practitioner. And I got some pictures from my sister of them at Christmas this last week. I was like in shock. I think the two of them have gained at least 40, 50 pounds. I was like, oh my God. And then I talked with him, and I got him started on the Z, but he started talking about, you know, lattes. And I said, are you drinking lattes? He goes, oh yeah.
Look at how many calories, minimum 1,500 calories in a Starbucks latte.
Yeah.
1,500, that's more than what we should be eating for the entire day, unless you're really active. So we do want to look at that. That's a great point, Anita, because people don't think of their coffee as having that many calories in it.
Wow. Excellent point, Anita. Absolutely. And we talk about full asset disclosure and estate planning, but the food industry does not give us full ingredient disclosure, does it? And I so appreciate the awareness that you're helping us bring to the table here to not only think about what we're ingesting, what we're drinking, what we're putting in our bodies, but to be conscious to really check those labels, which again, aren't necessarily, they're not intended to be accurate. I think we can all agree that there's an ongoing battle with the pharmaceutical industry, and, you know, that them being the go-to that, you know, our magic pill will heal you. And so, you know, internally we have this battle already taking place. And on top of that, the food industry, because people, especially with rising inflation, everything, they're doing what they can to cut back. And instead of paying more for natural ingredients, they're cutting corners to find some, you know, generic substitute, some artificial substitute that's not as healthy, but it might look as healthy on the label. If we don't know what we're looking for, we're not looking close enough. And I see some questions popping up in the chat here, and we will absolutely get to those soon. What I wanted to talk about next, ladies, was this unique double placebo blind study that was done on the product. Because when you started to talk to me about that, Deb, I went, wow, this is, you know, this is very rare and unusual in general. But I think a lot of people are going, oh, this is, you know, this is something new to the forefront of the arena. But this particular research and subject test, which was done over 8 weeks with extraordinary results, happened some time ago. So talk to us about that. And then maybe start to share with us both of your individual testimonials, because my wife and I have just started on this product as well. So we can't share results yet, right? Because we don't have those, but you ladies have, some of your clients have, and, you know, the placebo test in and of itself is quite extraordinary. So talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah, I would say this though, before I do that, let me talk about, you brought up asset protection and legacy. You know, I deal with people every day who are chronically ill. They have mortgaged their house 2-3 times to get healthy. When we're talking about food, it's so much of an asset and legacy. Like, you want to teach your kids and your grandkids about healthy eating, health and wellness, so that when you leave them financially sound, they're healthy enough to enjoy it, and they're not having to pay someone like me, you know, $30,000, $40,000 a year to keep them healthy. So always think about that. Your health has to come first, and that's a huge legacy thing. So just wanted to share that. When we talk about the study, that is honestly when Anita called me and said, I have a product you need to look at. The study was what solidified this for me. I watched all of the testimonials. I saw all the improvement, but the study was sound. So the study goes back to the early 90s. Correct me if I'm wrong on that date, Anita, but first of all, I was impressed with the fact that they did a double-blind placebo-controlled study on a fat loss pill. That never happens because there's no money to be made. And these people had to put out a lot of money to do a study like this because they didn't have funding from a pharmaceutical company. That's where all of our studies come from, is funded by pharmaceutical companies. So for them to invest their own money in a double-blind placebo-controlled study was huge. Second was that they only had women in this study. They never do a weight loss study with only women because women will skew their study because men lose weight better and faster than women. We all know that, right? Your husband gives up soda, he drops 10 pounds, you give up soda, you gain 3. It's just the way it is, unfortunately. So for them to have a study with just women was very impressive to me. I loved the fact that all they did with these people was say, reduce your calories by 500, increase your activity 30 to 60 minutes a day for, I think it was 3 to 5 days a week. Might've been 5, I can't remember. And Anita, you'll correct me if I'm wrong on that one. The placebo group lost 8 pounds of fat. The group that took Z lost 21.3 pounds of fat and put on 1 pound of muscle. You don't ever see that. I can't reproduce that with semaglutide or phentermine or fen-phen. I can't reproduce those results with any of those drugs that are on the market. And when I saw that, I thought, this is amazing, because they didn't say go out and have this, pristine, perfect diet. They just said, reduce your calorie intake, increase your activity a little bit, and let's see what happens. And it was amazing what happened. And that is what blew me away. And I will tell you, over 20 plus years of practice, I've used every leptin reducing product on the market, and I've never seen a product do what the Z has done, ever. So that truly blew me away. Anita, I'll let you share too what your thoughts were when you read the study.
Well, it's funny because being a nurse, I have to have the science to back things up. I can't put my my integrity on the line if I don't believe in something. And the fact that there was science behind this, a study behind this, not only was it a study, but it was done at a university here in the United States, it's Connecticut. And, so that gave it a lot of credibility for me. But the other thing that gave it credibility is our co-founder of the company. I've known her for 4 plus 5 years. And I know how she has struggled with her weight. And so not only her, but she chose quite a few people that I knew from another company I was with. And I've known them long enough to know that they have definitely struggled with their weight. When I started to see their after pictures, before and afters, I was like, oh God, if Danielle can do it, I can do this. If it works for Danielle, because I know how she does like to go out. And so I was sold on it because of the people that I saw on it. And I actually wasn't even looking at this for more than just a way for me because I know my hormones are terrible. And so I thought, if I can get at least the leptin insulin thing under control, I might have a little better results with, the eating organic and the changes I've been making. So for me, it all just made sense right away because of the people behind it, the people that were on it, and the fact that it had the science behind it too. So that just clinched it for me.
Deb and Anita, let me ask you this. In your minds, why does this particular product, especially you mentioned for 20 years, Deb, you've tried all these different leptin type of products. Why does this particular product, based on the science, working so much better than anything and everything else you've tried out there?
It's interesting because when you look at the ingredients, and I've had this conversation with a few of my colleagues, and we've said, these ingredients are not overly impressive. And one of my colleagues actually said, I can go get this ingredient for $30 and I can do the same thing. And I said, you're not going to be able to. It's how it was formulated. It's a proprietary formulation that helps reduce your appetite and affects that leptin resistance. And it is that works. Like I've literally, the products I've tried have had 4 or 5 different herbs in it. They address insulin, they address blood sugar, they address the hypothalamus and the pituitary. None of them do what this product has done. And it is how it's been formulated. The formulator of this product was brilliant when they put this together. And I loved the fact that the product was so clean. There's no stimulants in it. There's no ingredients in it that are going to interfere with anybody on anything. It has a little bit of fiber in it. So you want to take it away from different medications and supplements and things like that. But other than that, there is nothing that's going to interfere with medication. And I loved that about this product too. No fillers. There's nothing toxic in it. It is a very clean product.
Yeah, that is powerful. Anita, would you like to share with us, and you both can, chime in on this, some of your personal results using the product? Because again, this probably wasn't your expectation going in, and the reason why you can be such a huge advocate now, in addition to the people that you've mentioned that had credibility and were people that you knew and trusted as well, having the results that they did. Share that with us, would you please?
So, I would love to. I have to say, I've been carrying an extra 50 pounds for some time, and I've been on I'm telling you, every diet that there is out there, I've been on it. I did keto for over a year. I did, and I'm not going to mention all the names of the programs because some of them are very good and wonderful. However, I, between spending thousands of dollars on those programs, some of them were costing me $400 a month, buying, prepackaged foods or pre-made foods that, yeah, maybe they had some good things in them, but I have to tell you, they didn't last. And what I realized after being on this product, that I was not targeting the leptin resistance and that hormonal imbalance. So when I first started this, which I started on November 6th, was my first full day. And I have to tell you, the first night I made a creamy spinach. It was a Sunday night, and that's my treat night. Creamy spinach and pasta dish, which I just love. And I could not eat the whole bowl. And normally I go for seconds. And I was like, okay, that helped. That worked. Second night, my husband took me out for Chinese food. And we go to a place that has a lot of vegetables and they're very fresh. And we came home with so much food. I could not believe it. I couldn't eat all the food that I normally eat. So I was very impressed just in the first 2 days of the way it affected my hunger. So, what this has in it is a lot of fiber, and you take it 30 minutes before a meal with lots of water and it fills you up. And when you start to eat your regular meals, your 2 heaviest meals of the day, you feel full sooner than you normally would. So my first week, I only lost 1 pound on the scale, but I lost 7.75 inches overall. I was happy with that. Second week, I was down, let's see, what was I down? Second week, I think I was down 5 pounds. And, but 12 and a half inches. And so now it's the end of my 6th week. I just did my measurements and my weight. I'm down a total of 12 pounds, but I have to tell you, 31 inches overall. That's almost 3 feet. I mean, that, and 6.5, 7 inches are off my waist alone. So I have pictures of me in my baggy pants. And my husband just laughs because I'm walking around with all my pants. He goes, why don't you buy clothes that fit? And I said, because I'm going to get down to a size 6. Don't want to spend the money now. Yep. But I have to tell you, I've had my ups and downs. Like I said, I had 2 weeks, because it is the holidays and so forth. I was out shopping for Christmas presents and it was storming all day. So it was a hectic day. It took me twice as long to get where I needed to go. And I had to eat out because I was famished. And so I stopped and ate. What did I eat? Fish and chips. Oh, the worst thing I could have chosen. But I had fish and chips and I knew I was going to really, blow it. And then it was, I think the next night was my husband's birthday and we had sushi. So I knew that week was shot. And I think after that whole week was over, I think I only came down a pound. But then after Christmas, I had the 3-pound gain after Christmas meal with the prime rib and the mashed potatoes and the 2 rolls and the key lime pie. I was like, I gained 3 pounds. But anyway, by this morning, it's gone. I'm down. All the pounds I gained, I'm down. And so yeah, and you know what? My stomach just feels flatter. And I'd love for Deb to share her flat stomach story.
Yeah, so I have about, I'd say 10 to 15 pounds that I'd like to lose. If you look at me, you'd say, God, she's crazy. She doesn't have to lose that much. But, clothes are deceiving sometimes. And I noticed right away, similar to Anita, like I wasn't hungry and I'm normally not hungry. I'm one of those people that can go all day long without eating. But I wasn't as hungry. I was full. I was satisfied. I'm also one of those people that cannot finish a meal without something sweet at the end. I love my little piece of chocolate, or I've got to have a little dessert. And I'm talking breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like it doesn't matter what meal I have. I need to have my little sweet treat. And I noticed after the first week that I wasn't looking for that. I didn't care. It was like, yeah, I'm satisfied. I'm good. In the first 2 weeks, I lost 2.5 inches in my waist. I lost about 1/2 inch in my hips. Total so far, I'm 1 inch down in my hips, inch in my thighs, inch in my calves, and about 2.5 to 3 inches in my waist. I'm looking for my 28-inch waist again, ladies. That's what my goal is. So I'm really happy about that. And I've been on the product now about 4.5 weeks. The one thing that I will tell you is I have not lost much scale weight. The scale will go up, it'll go down, it'll go up, it'll go down. And then I was talking to Anita yesterday and I said, the scale finally moved 3 pounds. Woohoo, I'm down 3 pounds. It was back up again this morning a little bit, but that's okay. But for me, what it's taught me is that this is more about fat loss than scale weight. We are so programmed to look at the scale and say, if the scale has this number, I'm okay today. If the scale doesn't have this number, I'm depressed or I'm upset or I'm this. And it's not about scale, it's about body fat. And I was also sharing with Anita, if you've had children, you kind of know that little muffin top we get after a while. And then if you're postmenopausal, that muffin top gets worse, ladies. But what I've noticed for myself is even though my waist has not gone down as much in the last 2 weeks, my muffin top is gone down. My stomach is flatter. I look in the mirror and I'm like, wow. And I look at my before picture and I'm like, God, that my waist is really flat. I've lost my hard shelf. And what I've learned about that is the visceral fat. So we have a lot of visceral fat. That means fat around your organs. So around your liver, around your pancreas, around your spleen, in the stomach. And what this product is doing is it's actually getting rid of that visceral fat. And that may be why we're not seeing a lot of scale weight move in the beginning, because if you're moving that visceral fat, you're moving those toxins out of that fat. Those toxins that we're exposed to love the body fat. And when you release the body fat, you're also releasing toxins. So you've got to do some cleansing and things like that. But reducing and eliminating that visceral fat is so much more important than the 5 pounds you can see on the scale, because it's very difficult to move visceral fat. Unless somebody's sucking it out with a liposuction, it's going to be very hard to move that visceral fat. But with Z, we are seeing that happen. And there is a doctor that's actually measuring that in her practice. And she's looking at the amount of visceral fat that people are losing. And it's tremendous.
Wow, that is incredible, Deb. And I call it the vicious visceral fat. And
Yes.
I feel like that's so enlightening for so many people. Not only what you both mentioned about scale weight and, the mindset and the way society teaches us, right, that's where our success lies. But the fact that we're getting down to areas that, typically would go untouched, even if we're doing, the intermittent fasting or, on some other type of diet or regiment that helps us to reduce fat. Yeah, it does make a difference how we fit in our clothes, Stacy. And Stacy
Yeah.
mentioned too, about, and I'd love for you to touch on this before we move into some Q&A, is the anti-inflammatory
Mhm.
effects that this product can do, because so many people, I don't think, realize the result of what's happening inside of our bodies negatively is a result of all the inflammation that we carry, and that can come from so many different directions. So talk to us a bit about the inflammation and how that's going to help heal and level that out.
Yeah. So, I mean, with our poor diets, we create a lot of inflammation, and people will often know this if they're paying attention. Like Anita had mentioned, her scale went up a couple of pounds after she ate some bread. And that's one of the first signs that you notice. Like if you're gaining 2 or 3 pounds in a 24-hour period and you're monitoring your calories and you know darn well you didn't eat that much in calories, it's either water or inflammatory weight, which tend to be a little bit of both. If you have a lot of water weight gain, there's a lot of inflammatory weight gain there too. The other way to look at inflammation in food is if you eat something and all of a sudden your joints are stiff, or you're really fatigued, or you have some brain fog, or you can't stay awake after you ate lunch. You want to be looking at what you ate, because that created some inflammation in your body. And that's how we determine if somebody has a food sensitivity, and that's creating a lot of inflammation. And there's a lot of anti-inflammatory diets out there that eliminate things like dairy, which is very inflammatory. Gluten is very inflammatory. Nuts can be inflammatory for some people. Even beans for some people are very inflammatory. So you want to look at what are you eating and how do you feel when you eat it? Not just your relationship emotionally, but physically, how do you feel when you eat certain foods? Because that will identify for you which foods you're sensitive with and which ones are causing inflammation. This product, Z, has some ingredients in there that can help reduce the inflammation. And I saw a question about the inches coming off because of inflammation. And that is true. This ingredient in the product can reduce the inflammation and can help. It's not the only thing, because you wouldn't lose that many inches like Anita had, 30 plus inches. That would not all go away just from inflammation. That's fat loss on top of it. Initially, if you're losing some inches in the first, couple of days, yeah, that's inflammation. But as time goes on and you're losing more and more, that's true fat loss. So that inflammatory response that we have, the more inflamed the body is, the more the body's going to hold on to body fat as a means of protecting you. The more chemicals you're exposed to in your food and your environment, the more body fat you're going to put on, because that's going to be the way that the body holds those chemicals to protect against your organs, to protect your heart, your brain, your liver, everything, so that those chemicals don't damage your body. And so that's the key of inflammation.
Okay, so let me
took my pills.
go ahead. Oh, okay, great.
I'm getting ready to eat in a half hour.
Let me ask you this, Deb. Is it possible, let's say somebody doesn't want to give up those inflammatory foods right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Is this particular product still going to help mitigate the amount of inflammation? That's what I wanted to get at.
Absolutely. And I have someone that I've known for many years, and I brought her into the product, and she is I think it's a Pepsi addict. She loves her soda pop, and she has not given it up at all. And in the first month, she's lost over 26 inches in her body, and she's lost 9 pounds. She has not changed her diet at all. So it does work. Now, would we recommend that to everyone? No, but I'll tell you, I did that for this first month. I didn't change anything because I wanted to see what happens to my body if I don't change anything. Now, next month, come January, I'm going to change my diet. I'm going to start exercising a little bit more, and I want to see the difference. So I'm using myself as a little experiment. I want to see the difference that I see from having that traditional diet that I've always had to now having a little bit more streamlined diet. I mean, my diet's not horrible, but it's not great either. And it's been Christmas, right? And I'm eating my mom's old-fashioned Christmas cookies. I'm just not going to miss that. I get it once a year. I'm going to have it. They are gluten-free, but still nonetheless. So I'm going to see the difference. I want to see how I feel. I want to see what happens to my weight. I want to see what happens to the fat loss. And I would guarantee you that I'm going to see way more change in my body this second month than I did the first month. Now, the research shows that the majority of the weight loss and fat loss comes the second month on the product, not the first month. So when we're seeing people like Anita and my friend have such great reduction in that first month, that's a huge plus, because many people don't see that kind of change until the second month. And that's because it takes time to heal that leptin and time to heal that insulin level.
Extraordinary. Well, we could literally say the proof is in the figgy pudding, or maybe the fat-free pudding, if you will, right? Again, the testimonials I love. It's what I wanted to get at, because that is the legitimate proof of something working, and working for people who haven't or aren't making, significant changes to their diet. So, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're watching on Facebook or here in the Zoom room with us, if you would put your questions in the chat, and we'll just go through a few of these. Stacey had initially asked, when I have a fasting insulin level, what will that tell me about leptins?
Absolutely. So if in an ideal world, you get a fasting insulin and a leptin level. So we can see both. If you have insulin resistance, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have leptin resistance. Some docs are hesitant to order a leptin because they don't know how to order it. They don't know how to interpret it. In many states, you can order these labs on your own through Quest or LabCorp. You don't need a doctor. You will need somebody to help interpret them, but they're simple. If your leptin level is between 5 and 10, that's a good leptin level. If it's higher than 10, you've got a resistance. If it's lower than 5, your body's in starvation mode. Either way, on either spectrum, you need Z, but then we need to change your diet a little bit too. Insulin in a fasting should be less than 5. If you're doing a 2-hour postprandial insulin, you want it to be between 5 and 10. And that will tell us, is there an insulin resistance in there? So it's fairly simple and easy to look at.
Got it. And then she asked about opening those receptors. Are they insulin receptors or are they leptin receptors?
There's both. So there's receptors for insulin and receptors for leptin, and this product will help heal both of those receptor issues.
Okay. Another question was, does long-term use of the product create a healing process, or will the results reverse upon discontinuing?
If you discontinue the product too quickly, you will go right back to where you were before. Long-term use of the product will actually repair the leptin and the insulin issue. I will say this, if you're postmenopausal age, you're going to want to stay on this product indefinitely, because you're going to always be fighting that insulin leptin resistant issue. You don't need to be on the highest dose once you reach your goal weight. You can be on a low dose for maintenance, but most people are going to want to stay on that product.
That's good. And she asked, do you know anyone who's lost 100 pounds yet? Or if it took that long?
I don't. Anita, do you know anybody who's lost that much weight?
I don't. So the story behind the product is a long one. I won't get into it. There was somebody that did lose 60 pounds that I know of, that I've seen pictures of. I don't know her personally, but the product was out 15 plus years ago, and then it came off the market for some legal reasons. But everything's fine. And so it came back out.
Product issues.
Not product issues. Yeah. And anyway, so the bottom line is it just came back out again right now. I mean,
we're the summer, right? Like August.
Yeah, August is when they started with the beta testing and pre-launch for the company. So, we're just starting to get in the testimonials, and we'll wait and see what happens come January, February, March.
I mean, the good thing with any kind of weight loss like this is the more fat you have, the faster you lose. The
Yes.
less abnormal fat you have, the slower you lose. So if you've got 10 or 15 pounds, you're going to see a lower response than somebody who has 60 or 100 pounds to lose. Just because once you start eliminating things and you eliminate those toxins, those fat cells are going to release the toxins and then the fat's going to come out very quickly. So I don't see any problem with somebody having 100 pounds to lose. It might take a little while, but it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anne asks, can children take the Zenith product without issues to their growth process? She has a friend whose young daughter is grossly overweight and wants to know if they'll have any adverse effects.
Yeah, you can. Children can take this product because it's basically fiber and a mixture of acetylated amino acids. So it's going to actually repair the damage in the mitochondria that's causing their weight problem. So children can use it. The only time we say somebody cannot use it is during pregnancy, because we just stay away from everything during pregnancy, and it hasn't been studied in pregnancy. Are the individual ingredients safe during pregnancy? Yes, individually they are, but we also don't want you losing fat during pregnancy. So that's why we would say not during pregnancy, but you can actually use it during breastfeeding. So a postpartum mom that wants to lose some weight, they're perfectly fine using this product as well.
Wow. Such good information today. We've approached the top of the hour, and I know we got a late start, but on behalf of myself and Deb and Anita, we really want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your schedules to, listen to this information, to get educated, to be informed, and to become aware of things that you can do, steps that you can take. I think this mind-body relationship is so much bigger than most people realize, because if our bodies are unhealthy, it has a negative effect on our mind, our emotion, especially when we're dealing with a constant barrage of negative media and information that's, coming at us from around the world, and vice versa as well. And so our heart's desire is for, I think one of you mentioned this at the beginning, wholeness, right? For us to be whole individuals, for that healing to take place on all levels, so that there is an extraordinary unity in the function of our mind, our body, and our spirit, and that everything simultaneously is functioning and operating, not just at a healthy level, but at the highest capacity it can possibly operate at. And I know that myself and Deb and Anita, moving into 2023, Stacy, others, our desire is to really serve more people and empower more people than we ever have before in our lives. But in order to do that, we need to build community. So, we need to surround ourselves by the right people who are going to be there to encourage us, to edify us, to build us up, and to give us sometimes the difficult nudge that we need when we're struggling, and just say, hey, you can do this, rise up, that strength is within you. And so my heart's cry is for you guys to really find the strength that I know is already resident within you in this coming year. And so now that we've answered some questions, we'd like to kind of shift into talking to you about how you can get this product, and more than that, a way that you can take this product and essentially do the same thing, help other people get healthy and have your product paid for. Because I know some people, expense might be in the forefront of their mind. They've already, cut off some other stuff, and they're going, I really don't have, a lot of extra right now, but I know I need to make a change. I need to do something different. So, this is kind of, we're closing the main part of this presentation, but we'd want to move into more of the opportunity side, if you will. If you'd like to learn more, please stick around with us. Anita, I'm going to pass the ball to you if you'd like to talk a little bit more about that with us, and really the opportunity that is here. Because one of the things I want to emphasize is that regardless of what's going on in our world around us, opportunity is everywhere. And opportunity can be found oftentimes in places we're not looking for it. But when we're legitimately just out to help people and to empower them, what a great way that we can benefit, and everyone around us benefits. So Anita, if you would, please.
Sure. I would love to. And I'll tell you why, because I've spent so much money. So there is an opportunity here with this product. First of all, in my own opinion, my own humble opinion, I think it's very, very affordable, even though people will say, well, for a supplement, it seems to be priced high. Well, there's lots of different ways you can obtain the product. We have a retail program for retail customers. We also have a wholesale side for people who are interested in sharing it and basically paying for their own product. Personally, when I find something that works, when I find something that will help people, I want to go and run and shout it from the mountaintops. Because I'm going to just tell you something personal. So my body image has been in the dumper for a long time with this extra weight. And I don't feel very sexy with carrying 50 extra pounds. I looked at one day my belly, and I have what's called an apron. For those of you who have one, you know what I'm talking about. And I got to tell you, I used to clean under the aprons of my patients that were 200 pounds overweight, 100 pounds overweight, 50 pounds overweight. And it was disgusting. And I saw that on myself and I started crying. And I was like, oh my God, it's time to get serious and get this weight off. What are you waiting for? So it's worth it to me to have a better body image. It's worth it to me to have better health, because I tell you, if you don't pay for it now, you will pay for it later. I can't tell you how sad it is to see people I know losing their whole life's savings paying hospital bills and nursing care home bills because they weren't taking good care of their health. So there is an opportunity here to get the product wholesale and then simply share it with a few friends. And the next thing you know, you paid for your own. If somebody tells me I can't afford that, I say, you can't afford not to. If you can't afford this bottle, then you need to do this as a business opportunity. You need to put money in your pocket. You obviously not doing well financially if you can't afford this. And sadly, it's the story I hear from many people that I don't have the money. I don't have the money. I'm like, you gotta change that for sure. So I don't want to get into all the pricing and everything. You need to get back with the person who invited you here to find out the pricing and all the different ways, but do get the information so you make a fully informed decision, because there's lots of ways to play this game.
Thank you for sharing that, Anita. Deb, did you want to add anything to that at all?
Yeah, I would say this. I mean, from a practitioner standpoint, I recommend a lot of supplements to my patients, and I'm always nervous about where they get their product from. I don't like people buying from Amazon because Amazon has bootlegged products on market. This particular product, I love the fact that you can either just be a customer, just buy it and use it. You can make a business out of it, which I think is amazing. First of all, I have like 6 businesses, so I love making businesses. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, and it doesn't have to be this huge ordeal about running a business. The reality is, once people start seeing what you're doing and the amazing results you're getting, you're going to automatically share with them because they're going to ask you, and you're not going to hold that information back. You're going to want to shout this from the rooftops, what you're doing. Why not make a little money from it on the backside of it? And from a practitioner standpoint, I'm super excited that in 2023, this company is going to come out with a way that practitioners can stock this product in their office and they can sell it directly. And they're also going to come out with a program for influencers. So if you know somebody who's a big influencer and likes to talk about all kinds of things, because they get kickbacks from that, let's be real, that's what they do. Why not get a kickback yourself for sharing it with someone like that? It just is a no-brainer. Everybody's looking for a way to make passive income these days. It's a no-brainer. Take the passive income, pay for your product, put a little extra money in your pocket. Maybe it's your Christmas fund, maybe it's your vacation fund that you use it for, or maybe you want to go really big and you want to make $20,000 a week. Whatever it is, it's doable here. And the 3 of us are here to help you and to help the people who invited you. So don't be afraid of it. It's not as difficult as it seems.
Wow, that's great feedback, Deb. Thank you so much for being transparent about that. Again, guys, I just resonate with that so much. I'm the kind of person, I like to advocate for things that I personally believe in. and things that I personally use. I mean, let's be real. There's a lot of folks out there selling and pitching products and services that they don't actually use themselves. And no judgment here, but in a lot of ways, to me, that's inauthentic. And I think it just shines so much when you believe in something that's had a positive impact on your life. As Deb and Anita shared, you're going to want to organically share that with others, tell others about that. So we're so excited for you all, not only to see the potential transformation in your personal physical health and lives, but also the mindset shifts that will happen as you start empowering other people. I think it was Napoleon Hill, right, that said it best. If you're struggling in some area, one of the best things that you can do is to go out there and find someone else you can help, someone else that you can serve. So if you're feeling hopeless, if you're feeling discouraged, if 2022 was a bit of a crappy year for you, maybe the best thing you can do is just shift that mindset, shift your focus, find somebody else who could use some assistance, who could use some help, and get out there and serve them. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. Deb, Anita, it's been an honor, a blessing. We're so appreciative and privileged to have you share your wisdom and your expertise. And I hope you guys recognize the opportunity that is here. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you can share this recording. If not, reach out to me. I'll get you the Zoom recording. Thank you so much, Anne. And just start sharing right with the world and be that light in the darkness, because together we can do so much better. Wishing you all a extraordinary, happy new year, a prosperous, healthy, abundant. Thank you so much, Deb, for imparting that dietary and nutrition legacy mindset to me on another level today. And as I go do my daddy duty with my little ones and my little guy celebrating his second birthday here on Friday, that's why I do what I do. That's why I surround myself with people like Deb and Anita and Stacy, and so many of you could say the same thing about these ladies, is so that together we can help others build a powerful legacy. So hope to see you all again soon. Reach out to us, as Anita said. Get back with the person who shared this with you and let us know how we can help serve you. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys. Have a great new year.
Happy New
Bye.
Year.
Bye now.
Happy New Year.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.